I kind of preempted tonight's message by telling you I was going to be somewhere in many ways completely out of my league. But there has been such an effort in the last several years to fuse the sexes together, to make them one. One of my favorite books, it's just a small book, it's a small leather-bound book, is a book that one of our church families gave me, Billy and Lisa. No doubt he had heard me quote from this guy so much, and some of you already know who it is. He had heard me quote from this guy so much. He had seen it in the bulletin. He come in one Sunday and handed me that little book. That doesn't show up too well, I'm sorry, but it's called Adriisms. It is a collection of the wit and humor of Dr. Adrian Rogers. And I have enjoyed reading these selections so much. Outside of his predecessor at Bellevue, great Dr. Robert G. Lee, I don't know anyone who could quote, maybe Vance Havner. Now Vance he's a good read. But I don't know anyone who could quote any better than Dr. Rogers. And tonight's Bible study actually comes out of one of those Adriisms, something he said. And I remember watching, I've watched most all of them, I remember watching that particular sermon. This was probably in the 80s. And Dr. Rogers stood up there and he said, he looked out over the congregation and he said, who's better, men or women? And the camera spanned out through the audience and you could see husbands and wives punching each other. It's like we're now going to get it. Pastor's going to tell us. Who's better? Men or women? His answer, so classic. You know what it was? Yes. Yes. And you could look out through the congregation, they were going. He went on to say, men are infinitely better at being men than women are. And women are infinitely better at being a woman than men are. Classic. But it puts things, in my understanding, right in the proper perspective. Men and women are different, and that's by design. Our Heavenly Father made the male and the female different. And there's purposes. There are reasons. Neither is superior to the other. They're just different. Hence, Dr. Rogers' answer, which is better? Yes. Yes. Now we're going to focus tonight on some of those differences. There's a lot of information in this. And it can be very, very factual. And to be quite honest with you, it can be kind of humorous. Anyone who didn't think that the good doctor was humorous had another thing coming. So we're going to list some of those differences between the man and the woman, male, female. The first one we're going to call the beauty and the beast. The beauty and the beast. And we're going to be talking in generalities. Keep in mind, there are exceptions, I understand that. But we're talking, generally speaking, men are stronger than women. That's normal. And it's by design. Listen to something Peter said, 1 Peter chapter 3. He tells the man to give honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel. When God created Adam, He created him to be the provider and the protector. That's why He designed him like He did. Eve, on the other hand, by the way, do you know what that name means? It means life giver. That's literally what Eve means, life giver. Man was created to be the provider and the protector. Woman was created to be the nurturer. Again, we're talking in generalities. Men cannot fulfill that nurturing element like the woman can. And generally speaking, the woman cannot feel that brawn, I've got to go out here and pick up the back of a Volkswagen or something, you know. They normally can't fulfill that. It doesn't mean that either is inferior. No. It just means they're different. And God designed them that way. Then there's the tortoise and the hare. Yeah. Generally speaking, men have more energy. Generally speaking, their heads turning and eyes rolling back in the back. Generally speaking, men have more energy. But women are more durable. They really are. Men are like the hare. Remember that story? The woman is like the tortoise. That hare started the race. And he ran with vigor, vim. I'm going to win this race. The woman, on the other hand, represented by the rabbit, the tortoise, just began to move in a very methodical way. By the way, guys, y'all do know who won that race, don't you? It wasn't the man. He goes off on this sprint, wears himself out. He, normally speaking, is stronger. But the woman She's more patient. She's more durable. Now you ladies will get a kick out of this. The third one is the romantic and the mechanic. The romantic and the mechanic. Because of the man's job, he's the provider, he's the protector, the brawn. Because of that, he develops this hard shell. It's hard to penetrate. He, and ladies, get this please. Most of you have already figured it out. He will never be as romantic as you want him to be. I'm sorry. That's coming from the pulpit all the way to the back. He will never be as romantic as you want him to be. You know why? He's not wired that way. Cut him a little slack. I think he has a good heart. He just don't think, which brings us to something interesting. He's not wired right. Women read articles on 5 ways to achieve intimacy. Men read articles on how to remodel your garage. It's totally different. Give a little girl. Give a little girl a doll. You know what she'll do? She'll cuddle it. She'll hold it. She'll feed it. Now they're so real you have to change their diapers and everything else. She'll do all those things to that little doll. I can't help but think of Sadie Mae and a little doll. Just loving that little doll. Give a little boy a doll. You know what he'll do? He'll use it for a hammer. Yeah. You see, this program and this wiring, it starts early on. Even as children. Neither is superior. They're just different. And they're different by design. Ladies, I'm sorry. If all these years you've been trying to make a romantic out of your man, just throw in the towel. Now, I know some are better, some buy flowers and stuff like that. That's great. But he'll never be as romantic as you want him to be. He's not made that way. Number 4. The radar in the computer. I like that. Men and women process information differently. A man's brain works like a computer. A woman's brain is more like radar. Some of you guys are smiling. You say, yep. When a woman analyzes something, she sees every bit of it. Every single bit of it. She has this incredible ability to be able to scan something, and she's got it all. My wife and I are out, and she said, "Did you notice something?" And I'll say, "No." "Did you notice the color of that object?" No. It was an object, that's all I can tell you. Because women are into details. They analyze everything. And by the way, there is a neurological reason for that. It's because that women use both sides of their brain. Did y'all know that? They do. The man uses primarily the left side of the brain. He tends to think more logically, more methodically. It's about numbers and data and that sort of thing. Now, the women do possess this ability. They do think with great logic, but here it is, guys. There's a lot of emotion added in. Men don't have a whole lot of that. But the woman does. So when she's thinking, with all of these methodic scans, when she's processing everything, emotion can get into the mix. Yeah. Number 5, moving right along. This one is the code speaker and the reporter. Guys, you really need to listen. You really, really do. The code speaker and the reporter. I talked about emotion a moment ago. Women, generally speaking, use language to express emotion. Men, we use language to dispense facts. That's about it. Women share. Men just report. See the difference? I picked this up somewhere. It says, don't listen, men, to what a woman says. Listen to what she means. There's a lot of wisdom in that. If you sense that your wife is upset, we're kind of slow. It takes a while. But we'll pick up on it sometimes. We know they're upset. And if you ask her, honey, is everything okay? And she replies and says, oh, nothing's wrong. I got to tell you, everything in the world's wrong. Everything is wrong. You might want to back up a little bit. You might want to reevaluate. You might want to retrace. Yeah. Man, he's a reporter. The woman, she's a code speaker. And when she says, no, nothing's wrong, that's code word for everything is wrong. Pay attention. Pay attention. Depending on her level, it could save your life. Number 6. The lover and the achiever. The lover and the achiever. When God created Adam, He told him to dress the garden and to keep it. Now, Adam looked around and saw all these animals, and it dawned on him. All of these animals have someone like them. Different, yes, but they have a mate. And he began to think, I don't have one of those. It's just me. And God, being perceptive as He is, said, I'll take care of that. He placed Adam in a deep sleep and did a surgical procedure in which He removed from his side a rib, for which He fashioned Eve. Now, I have no biblical verification of this. I don't know what Adam looked like. They didn't have mirrors, but he could look in the stream and see a reflection of himself, couldn't he? Sure. He might have been a handsome guy. I don't know. But I've got an ideal. When he awoke out of his sleep, and there was Eve, a full-grown, it's no problem for God, a full-grown, mature woman. I think he opened his eyes and said, wow. I think she was beautiful. And he now had someone to compliment him. Now, sin has not entered into the world, and I'm not saying that, sexual activity is sinful. No. But they were in a state of innocence. So there would not have been a sexual draw there. He just saw her as beautiful. Hence my concept or ideal that he went, wow. He might have said something like, he didn't exactly say this, but he could have said something, here is one like me, but also a whole lot different. Yeah. Also a whole lot different. God created Adam, and I touched on this earlier. God created Adam to dress the garden. There was very little work they had to do. Again, sin had not entered in. Briars were not the issue then. They would come later. Yeah. But Eve, she was the nurturer. She had that instinct. And God equipped both of them to do their jobs. I've used this illustration before, but it's personal and I just want to use it again. When Amber was born, I really wanted to be a good dad and try to help. I had no idea what Phyllis had gone through. That's before birthing rooms and everything. It's a good thing. I did not want to be in there when that was happening. No. Then you sat outside us, the old Carter County Hospital. Amber, you're getting old. I sat outside in a waiting room. And I remember the first thing the nurse said, she's got 10 fingers and 10 toes. Sounded good to me. I never will forget that. Did I get sick when I went back to see you prior or after? I got sick, yeah. The smell, whatever in that room, I had to go back out. I turned white. Don't put me in a nursing room while a baby's being delivered. No. No. But when we come home, I tried to help and tried to do my time taking care of the baby. I'd hold that little redhead, feed her a bottle, rock her. We done pretty well. But there were times I really couldn't do anything with her. Mama come in. and took over. And she was fine. And I couldn't help but think, it happens because God designed us that way. As much as I wanted to, I didn't have that nurturing instinct, but her mom did. And pretty soon she would just drift off to sleep. She was fine. Man is primarily an achiever. The woman primarily is a lover. And watch this. Paul's writing in Ephesians chapter 5, and he's given advice to the men and women. He tells the man to love his wife. You ever notice that? Ephesians chapter 5, verse 33. He said, husbands, love your wives. You know what he told the woman? He told her to respect her husband. And I read that, and it just never really had sunk into me. God told both the male and the female, in essence, to do that because that's what their spouse needed. The wife needs to be loved. The husband needs to be respected. God made us that way. That's never changed. It's the same way. And it's because that God knows our deepest needs. By the way, these differences, they should never divide us. No. In fact, they should unite us. That's why I entitled the study, Celebrate the Difference. God has made us this way for a reason. There is purpose. And even though there are times there are conflicts and there are struggles, I understand that. We ought to appreciate the fact that God knows what we need most. And hubby, if you'll love your wife like you should love her, she'll respect you like she should respect you. I am firmly convinced. Here's my soapbox. In 2020, it's time to stop trying to be different to the point that we combined and break down the sexes. We need to stop that. God has made us just like we are by design. Hence, celebrate the difference. And there are couples in this auditorium that have been married a long time. And you have survived. Because somewhere along the line, Judy, you just gave up on trying to change Phil. Yeah. And Phil, you just kind of ascertained the fact that, well, this won't be the way it is. But it's worked. And I congratulate all of you on great longevity in your marriage. Celebrate the difference. Again, out of the box a little bit for me, but I hope we've got a little tidbit of information, okay? All right, let's stand. Husbands, wives, don't you go home.